One of the hardest sides of analyzing records from labels like Frontiers is sometimes being confronted with nostalgic elements that we know have the potential to stir our emotions, both positively and negatively. Not because of what you're hearing, but because of the past evoked by those nostalgic commonplaces. As soon as we heard Backbone Feeling, the first theme of the debut album of the Brazilians Tarmat, the era when hard rock tamed and transformed into melodic rock by keyboards populated the airwaves a little everywhere came to our minds. No doubt this is a reality far, far away from what we have nowadays. But does it have less value because of this? I don't think so, especially when Tarmat's talent is quite evident. Melodic and sometimes somewhat pop, dated but still, a capacity to make great songs.
Re-recordings, something that has even happened a few times and is rarely well received by fans. Does the re-recording of Harakiri for the Sky's self-titled debut suffer from the same problem? Well, it will always depend on how attached one is to the original recordings, which the band has never been particularly happy with. As artists, it will obviously always depend on them what to do with their works. In this case, the justification is the dissatisfaction with the sound of both this and the following work that led them to re-record to mark the anniversary decade. The sound is undoubtedly modern and powerful, and I don't think it has subverted the original spirit except, of course, in the atmospheric ambience that is practically non-existent. I mean, in the context of the themes, there is not exactly a subversion, but there is clearly a loss of atmosphere. As such, this re-recording serves as an exercise for the artists to finally realize their own vision for the work in question, but I doubt the original vision had anything in mind either. For fans, and not to take it too seriously, it is no substitute for the original.
Sabu, I must confess, was a totally unknown name to me. However, he already has a long history in AOR, with over 3 decades of career, although here with Sabu, it was put on hiatus in 1998. Multifaceted songwriter, hugely talented vocalist and producer with given and proven credits, it was time for Paul to revive his band of old and, of course, Frontiers was a more than appropriate home for this rebirth. The class to write great songs is evident with Blinded Me, the opening track. A class that we recognize as not of today's times but is evident nonetheless. For fans of AOR, here is a great proposal.
What an amazing album that surprised us by being released by Frontiers Music. Not that the Italian label doesn't have a high level of quality that can house albums like Face the Storm. The point is that being a progressive metal band, a style that hasn't been offered to us for some time among Frontiers' many releases, we ended up being surprised by this fantastic set of songs. It was the first album of the band's career and it's a simply fantastic start. Progressive metal no doubt, but it also goes many times to the melodic hard rock fields, stylistic crossings that only serve to enrich their music and encompassing a larger field, where melody and weight combine in the best way, especially the vocal lines that are unusually memorable for a progressive metal album.
Interesting work by Los Morts. Slasher takes aesthetically and lyrically a psychobilly environment, reminiscent of the Miss FD's imagery, but musically brings together very different arguments. Powerful production, powerful rock feeling and groove, in a result that captivates. Even more so when all the themes go back to classic slasher movies, sung in Spanish. Our favorites are Elm Street and Halloween, especially the latter, which has a classic heavy metal chorus.
Re-recording of Harakiri for the Sky's epic second album, and probably the one that made them explode in the underground. As you could read in my review of the first re-recorded album, what we have here doesn't change much, although I must say that the results here are much more satisfactory. Powerful sound, no doubt, with some of the ambience lingering a bit, but not quite comparable to the original. The point is that this re-recording has exactly the same sound as the re-recording of the self-titled debut album, which is perfectly natural since they were recorded at the same time. The problem arises in the fact that the album loses its individuality and the special fact that it definitely has. Still, and being part of a celebration and fulfilling the supposed original vision the band had for these songs, it is still a good revisit, without, again, being able to replace the original.
Here it is. Sooner or later we knew we would get this, an album entirely dedicated to Iron Maiden. The classic guitar sound, and some new arrangements, give a new life to classics from the Iron Maiden. And let it not be thought that they are always the same old songs, since we also have here some more recent classics such as Dance of Death, Blood Brothers, and The Talisman. It's not just a matter of transposing them to new instruments, but of giving them a whole new life. Maximum example in Wasting Love, with the violin giving the song the drama it deserves. Also of note is Blaze Bayley's participation in His Klansman. Easy listening Maiden, ideal for a day when you just want to relax.
Third album from the Italians ad Noctem Funeriis that bring us a one-dimensional black metal album, straight to the point, but not boring. We have the work divided into 3 parts, as indicated by the title itself. The first, consisting of 3 parts, is the best, mainly because it can be heard as a sound theme. Fire is the most dynamic, with rhythmic moments, and is memorable for that very reason. The third part, consisting of an acoustic interlude, ends up being the work we think about the least, but it is a fitting conclusion to a great black metal album.